Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. It is episode number 110. Now, I don't know what an episode means anymore when we've got all these pregame shows and postgame reactions that don't count. But it is still a pleasure to be here with my co-host, Saur. I'm your host, Scotty. And let's start with a nice welcome. Saur, how are you feeling today, my man?
Inter Miami remains undefeated this season. How do you think I'm feeling? I'm feeling great. I'm feeling on top of the world. I love my team. Let's talk about how good we were last night despite going down to 10 men. But before that, how are you feeling, my friend?
Do you think, how Barcelona fans felt between like 2009 and 2012? Is this how like Manchester United fans felt at 1999? Is this what like Man City fans felt in 2023? I feel so spoiled. I feel so spoiled that we're going to complain about rotation and we're going to complain about red cards. Meanwhile, our team has not lost a game in 2025. All they do is win. All they do is show resiliency. All they do is take good teams going at it with their best players, and they say, that is nothing. Watch this. Oh, and by the way, we don't even need our best player to do it. So, yeah, I feel spoiled, humbled, not humbled, appreciative, but very spoiled. So, yeah, I think this is a great time to be an Inter Miami fan.
I don't think we're there yet. We don't have the same feelings as Manchester City of 2023, Barcelona of 2011, Manchester United of 1999, because we haven't won any concrete trophies yet. This is on the right track. We're definitely proceeding in the right direction. The trajectory is high. And the fact that we haven't had our best player very early in the season for a couple of really important games, and yet we get the result, just goes to show how good this team actually is. I still think there's levels to go. We can go higher and get better, and we have still players coming into this squad. It's only going to get better from here as long as we continue to keep our head down, remain humble, and work hard. That's what this team did yesterday. We put ourselves in difficult situations, but then we pull ourselves out of them as well. Really excited by what this team can potentially be. Especially, we don't even have our best player on the pitch, and we're still getting results. That's what matters, right?
Should we just start by having a 10-minute conversation on if this is what an MLS treble winning team looks like? Because no MLS team has ever won CONCACAF Champions Cup and the Supporters Shield and the MLS Cup and an in-season tournament. Like, that's never happened in the MLS before. But we keep saying this is the best and most talented and deepest team in the history of this league. So maybe this is what it looks like. I'm very excited for it. You mentioned, go ahead.
Are we treating this as an overreaction episode? Because I'll go there if you want me to go there. But
I don't think it's an overreaction.
A little bit.
We haven't lost in 2025.
I would love to hear what Charlotte fans think when they hear us say all these things, because they might have a different opinion, man. All the other MLS teams might have a different opinion. There's a reason it's very hard to win the treble in the MLS, and it's just the nature of the MLS. I think we're heading in the right direction. We're not completely ready yet. But yes, this is what a treble winning team looks like, basically.
No, I mean, if you think about the LA Galaxy, they haven't won in 2025. They're winless in 2025. They're like not even going to make the playoffs at this point. And that's because they had to.
Well, we're only 3 games in, so let's hold our horses there.
No, I understand. But for Inter Miami to be able to go, which is, I think, the second most impressive accomplishment compared to what the LA Galaxy did last year, which is win the Supporters Shield. For us to take that team and then find a way to get better, that's crazy, because the team that maxed out in order to win the cup has fallen off a cliff. So I think it goes to your point of just how hard it is to keep a roster together, and for Inter Miami to have done that and to make it even better. It's crazy. Okay, the big topic, and you mentioned it, is the big topic is the game, but the big quick hitter that we're going to start off with is the addition of Baltasar Rodriguez. It was announced earlier today. Inter Miami made it official. He is not going to be available for Thursday's game. He still, as far as we know, has to go through the work permit process. So we don't expect to see him on the field for Inter Miami until after the international break. I don't know why Inter Miami sometimes announces it when the deal is done and sometimes announces it when the work permit is done. Because they do both. Maybe it has to do with how the other team has has to, make it official for their purposes. But this is a done deal. Baltasar Rodriguez is coming to Inter Miami, and it's official based on the club's announcement.
Great addition. Obviously, expecting this for a while now. This was in the works. Somebody that they wanted to get in as soon as we heard news that Facundo Farias is going to be on his way out. Seems like a 1-to-1 replacement on that end. I'll be excited to see what Baltasar Rodriguez brings to this team, because so far the recruitment has been fantastic. And more so, the new players are actually hitting the ground running. So Baltasar Rodriguez could also be one of those players who hits the ground running and offers something very exciting to the squad. Or he could be somebody who's come in and just plays more of a role player position. I don't know what he's going to bring to this team, but I'm excited to see what he brings to this team. And to your point about why we announce certain players and why we don't announce certain players, it almost seems like they've realized that the fans haven't had a transfer announcement in a while now, and they were like, you know what, even though we haven't got a work permit, let's just announce it while we can. But I think it has to do more so with the other team and the team that he's coming from. I think they need it for their accounting purposes or whatever, so then they announce it accordingly.
Yeah, I imagine it has something to do with that, or maybe the league regulations in the other league, because Inter Miami's also getting Alan Obando. That's actually farther along. I don't know if he's in Miami today or South Florida today, or he's coming tomorrow, but he's going to be in South Florida this week. He's going to do the physical and all that. He's going to join Inter Miami. I do think he will be available for that Atlanta game this weekend. So, and of course, no announcement from the club. I will say for the last couple of years, they have mixed and matched whether they're going to announce it as soon as the deal's done or once he's actually gotten his work permit and is eligible to play. We just saw Maxi Falcone had to, that announcement came after he was already eligible to play with his work permit and everything. So I don't know what the deal is, but two big reinforcements coming, much needed, especially Alan Obando, because Suarez has played virtually every minute of every important game so far, started every single game, including, I believe, all of the preseason games. So to get a guy that can be a different style of attacker, and to get a guy that can just give him a few minutes on, of rest every game, that's going to be huge. And then Baltasar Rodriguez, you mentioned it, the recruitment has been very good, I think, since, over the course of this transfer window. I'm very impressed with everyone we brought in terms of how they've impacted this team. And some of them look like stars. Allende, Segovia, very impressive. And the fact that Inter Miami has chased Baltasar Rodriguez for the last 2 months and has really made him a priority and has continued to go back and continue to go back and continue to go back tells me that Javier Mascherano really thinks this guy's a difference maker in the long term. And I am very excited for that. And I'm also very excited for Alan Obando. I haven't gotten the new kit yet because I think I'm going to wait and see if Obondo's the guy for it. But
wait till the transfer window to close. Exactly. And you know what it is? I don't want to forget this point, and I know we might talk about this in more detail in one of our midweek episodes, but the biggest difference this time around has been with the incoming transfers. A lot of these players appear to be a lot more impactful from the get-go. I don't think that was the case last season. Yes, Matias Rojas was very impactful in his own way, a few other players as well. But I do think these players that have come in have immediately hit the ground running. They haven't needed that adjustment period. And that, for me, is why this team has settled in so well at the start of the season. Imagine a scenario where some of these players took their times to get up to speed. I fully imagine Allende to take a couple of months before he actually gets into the rhythm. Lo and behold, he's already scoring and probably is highest goal scorer right now in this Inter Miami team. I didn't expect that, did you? So I think that is a really important thing that we need to commend the coaching staff, front office for bringing these players in earlier in the transfer window and actually helping them embed in a much easier way, which has really helped our season.
Well, I don't even think it's that they've brought him in early. Of course, that helps, and I think they did a great job of doing that early in January. But where these guys are coming from, Maxi Falcone is a veteran. He doesn't have to come in like Tota Aviles did and sort of figure out how to play. And then Allende, a guy that has been in Spain training with a La Liga club for the last year and playing some games for them. And then the same thing with Telasco Segovia playing in the Portuguese First Division. Those are guys that have played at a higher level. Maybe not a higher level, but when I'm talking about Maxi Falcone, but certainly the other two. So even though they're young, they have had that experience at that really high level, so they can come back and not be overwhelmed by the moment. To your point, I think a lot of Tata Martino's signings, he promised them, you're going to come in and start for me. But a lot of them were coming in from huge layoffs in terms of having, the last time they were consistent starters, or they're very young players that needed to grow and adjust to the league. So I'm very impressed that we've been able to get, I think, a higher quality of jumpstart players for the team this year. And I don't know if that's because they watched Diego Gomez go. I don't know if the brand of Inter Miami is improving and Lionel Messi being here for longer is having a bigger impact. But it has just been a really nice thing to just have these guys hit the ground running and be impactful players in winning games. So
I like the phrase jumpstart players. I think that sums them up really well.
Yeah. I guess the last thing on this topic is Baltasar and Alan Obando. I expect this to be it for the winter window in terms of incomings.
I think there might be a couple of outgoings still, but incomings, I don't think we need anybody else at this point in time. We can hold off. I feel like anything else would be a surplus to requirements.
Yeah, the only thing I will say, keep an eye on, is if for some reason a top-level goalkeeper falls into their lap, I think they would go for it. But I agree with you. I think the midfield is stacked. I think there are a million options in that forward line. Now that you got the backup striker, you've got a plethora of options at every sort of spot in the lineup. Multiple 10s, multiple wingers, multiple strikers, so many midfielders that can handle everything. 5 center backs and a couple fullbacks on each side that you feel really good about. I mean, again, we're talking about how spoiled this team is, how spoiled we are as fans, but it's really fun. And while it's happening, let's enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we got into it last night in the post-game reaction. I thought Wilfried Zaha had a fine game, fine performance. You thought he was awful.
No.
Now that we watched
put
the game
words
back,
in my mouth.
I think we can
Do not
assume
put words in my mouth.
He was fine.
That was,
he was
not
fine.
my.
He was fine. We'll meet in the middle, okay? The reason I'm bringing that up is so that we don't have to spend 15 minutes arguing about Wilfried Zaha later in this game. We'll mention him, of course, but I just wanted to get that off the table before anything else.
Just to make sure I'm not getting implicated for the wrong reasons, I never said Wilfried Zaha was awful. I said he was terrible. Just putting it out there.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Any thoughts going into this game? Maybe we can set the stage a little bit. It's a very tired team. They've played, this is their 5th game in about 16 days. And they had to play a team that has only played 2 games, is a lot fresher, and I think has a ton of talent. Going into this game, before we win, I felt like this was an opportunity for Inter Miami to get a huge statement win, but that if they don't win, if it's a draw, if it's a loss, like it doesn't really matter. Now that the game's over, do you agree with that assessment?
It feels a lot better to be on the winning side. I'll just put it that way. I would have been quite gutted if we lost the way we did yesterday. So, for instance, imagine a scenario where we're winning 1-0 and they score in the 89th minute. I would be quite gutted with that because I feel like we did enough to win this game. I think we came out of this game really well. I'm happy with that 1-0 result. And honestly, watching Charlotte, I think we could have beaten them. We did beat them. That being said, going into this game, setting the context, this is a good Charlotte team. This is a very good Charlotte team that's going to go far this year. We're probably going to see them again in the Eastern Conference playoffs, perhaps. This is a Charlotte team that can finish in the top 3, according to me. The way the game played out didn't necessarily fall in their favor because going down to 10 men, honestly, worked out in Inter Miami's benefit. Let's just put it that way.
You've really come full circle since yesterday.
No, I watched the game. I've rewatched it. As you said, we do the pre-game reaction, which is emotional, which is immediate, and then we have a more rational discussion today. So this Charlotte team is going to go far for sure. If you had told me ahead of this game that we would win, I would take it with both hands. If you said we draw, I would take it with both hands. If you said we lost, I would have rationalized it in some way or another by saying that this Inter Miami team is tired, we don't have our best player on the pitch, and we went down to 10 men against Ustari. So it felt like the odds were stacked against us. We were going up against a good team. So I would have been okay with whatever the result was. The fact that we've actually won completely changes this discussion. And now we're going to talk about how great this Inter Miami team is and how shit this Charlotte team is. Apologies for my language.
Okay, you ready to get into the breakdown or the rundown?
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, match day 3, and Scotty says it's a big one, especially if Inter Miami wins against a revamped Charlotte team with a new attacking core, but it felt like the same old Charlotte lockdown defense and make it difficult in the midfield. The only explosion to this start was a nice left-footed slam by the Golden Boy in the 13th minute, but the real fireworks came in the 38th, and those fireworks were red. Wilfried Zaha breaks loose behind the defense, and the sweeper keeper extraordinaire makes an extraordinary blunder. Zaha trips, and Ustari pays the price. He is gone, and in comes the Rock to lock it down. But in reality, it was the goal scorers for Miami that made the moment. 16 seconds into the second half, Busquets with a long ball to Allende. A great touch, a heel pass, a bring down by Allende, and an easy finish in the corner gives Inter Miami a 1-0 lead despite the man disadvantage. The mission is simple from this point on. Miami, rock up and lock up. For Charlotte, all Zaha, everything to get the equalizer. And it seems like it's about to come in the 65th minute. Zaha puts in a cross to the big man, Patrick Agyemang, but his frustrating start to the season continues as he puts it just wide. Charlotte fans singing, "I need a hero." And Edon says, "Talk to me," as Taklamadi forces a high turnover. One touch to the big man, receives it back, and gets a straight line on goal from the 6-yard box, but he cannot put it away. That ball gently touches the crossbar as it wiggles out of danger. And just like that, so does Charlotte. Charlotte's offense not able to get the equalizer. Inter Miami holds on for a 1-0 win. Let's go, Herons.
Yeah, give him some round of applause in the chat, guys. This was beautifully done. As always, Scotty continues to surprise me and build up the great highlight package that we have for you on this Inter Miami versus Charlotte game. I like the fact that you didn't have much to mention about Zaha, which just goes to prove my point that he was not as impactful because we locked him down. It was very simple, right? Inter Miami started the game slightly on the back foot. Charlotte was very, very quick coming off the blocks, gave us a bit of trouble. After, I think, the 5th minute, Inter Miami started to build onto this squad. They decided to play their game. And I felt like for large parts of the game before the red card, we were actually having those chances. You mentioned that Kremaski chance, which I thought was a really good shot, well constructed, just straight to the keeper. After that red card was a bit of a different game. So perhaps we can talk about the pre-red card game versus the post-red card game. But I think Inter Miami did enough and definitely had to lock down to get a result here. But we were the better team over the course of 90 minutes, and Charlotte did not have that cutting edge to get that 1 goal or 2 goals to sink this Inter Miami ship. Onwards we go. Keep our season unbeaten for now.
And I want to apologize. It was Gonzalo Lujan who kicked off that goal-scoring opportunity, not Sergio Busquets. So thanks to the chat
was a
for
beautiful
correcting me. Yeah, it was. For the record, I did mention Zaha more than any other player, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, let's start with the beginning of the game, because Charlotte does come out and they press really high for the first 5 minutes or so. And I think it did concern Inter Miami. Like, how is Charlotte going to come into this game? Because I think they were expecting, rightfully so, for them to sit back, try and hit in transition. And that is what ultimately Charlotte settled into. But if you can startle a team in the first 5 minutes, it can take 10, 15 minutes after that to sort of realize what you're seeing. And I think Inter Miami didn't handle it incredibly well. I think they struggled to convert possession into opportunities early on. You mentioned that Kremaski shot. It comes off of a ricochet. I guess Allende's maybe trying to cross it, maybe he's trying to shoot from sort of the edge of the box. It ricochets after getting it deflected into the path of Kremaski. That left-footed shot, I've never seen Kremaski do anything like that with his weak foot. So that was actually impressive. I've said this over the last couple episodes, but every time he plays as a winger, he does like 1 or 2 little winger things that I'm like, I've never seen that from him before. And maybe there is something here from him.
Do you have an award for Kremaski?
I don't.
Okay, I do. So we can talk about it maybe later.
Okay.
If I decide to bring it up.
Okay.
I've got 5 or 6 really good awards, by the way. So just saying.
Okay. Send a couple my way because I'm lacking. Yeah, I mean, that was, I think, the big moment. In the 25th minute, I thought there was a really nice play by Toto Aviles, who forces Agyemang, who's sort of on the break. It's a one-on-one. He forces him to kind of take it wider than he would have liked to. It looked like he was going to stutter step and try and bring it back inside for the finish. And Toto said, that's not happening. He kind of stutter steps with him, and then he makes the challenge at the perfect moment to make sure that he can't get the shot off. I thought that was really impressive. There's another moment just a minute later in the 26th. Yannick Bright absolutely outmuscles Patrick Agimang to get a clearance. I mean, that was I think the most impressive one I saw. He just kind of throws him to the side and just heads it away. It was really nice. The other big moment I think happened in the 30th minute. Toto Aviles gets a yellow for a push on Wilfried Zaha. It sucks because it's a foul, but oftentimes probably isn't called given a yellow card in the 30th minute. But because of Aviles, it feels like he just attracts the yellow. And then it obviously forced him to come out of the game at halftime.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Let's start with that Aviles move. Yes, I think it was a little bit harsh getting that yellow, but just before that, he had a couple of other fouls as well. He had a push on the left-hand side of our pitch that I think the referee looked at and was like, okay, there's a couple of fouls here that Aviles has done out now, and he was basically given a yellow for accumulation of fouls over the course of the 25 minutes. Really harsh. We can talk about it later. One thing I really noticed happen, which I think was an instruction from the get-go, was Yanick Bright and what his role in this team was. He was tracking every single late run from the midfield that was being made by a Charlotte player, whether it was Bronico, whether it was Adjumang, whether it was Wilfried Zaha. He had the instruction to track every single midfield run from that Charlotte midfield, and he was fantastic at it. You already mentioned that Adjumang move that Yannick Bright made. There was a couple that he had on Bronico as well, where he just kept pace with him, kicked the ball out. He was physical in this game, and he was the one who was setting the pace, especially in the middle of the park. For this Charlotte midfield that we spoke really highly about with Westwood and Bronico, I think having Yannick Bright in that middle was the perfect neutralizer, because those two are very, very energetic and can eat up ground like it's nothing. And then you put up Yannick Bright against them and you realize that Yannick Bright is worth two of those players. So really well done from him. I liked the instructions from Javier Mascherano as well, because it was clear from the get-go what Yannick Bright was trying to do. A couple of other things as well. I think at the start you mentioned we didn't adjust well. I would like to counter that, actually. We may not have been creating much in the first 5 minutes, and we're definitely caught off guard with how pacey and how much press Charlotte was applying. But I do think we settled well into it. If this was the Inter Miami of last season, we would have conceded a goal in the first minute, and I feel like we adjusted well enough to that, which is a big improvement from what we had last season. Yes, it sort of altered our game plan, but I think after the 5th or the 6th minute, once Charlotte pulled back a little bit, got into the rhythm that we expected them to be in, I think Inter Miami controlled the first 25 minutes quite well. A lot of our chances were more clear than what Charlotte was doing. They never had a clear-cut final opportunity in that box. They made some really good runs. They had some really good balls over the top. But whether it was Aviles, whether it was Allen, or whether it was Yannick Bright, we were always well-positioned and we covered it really well. So overall, I liked our structure. The way we were set up was really well done. And before that red card, I thought Inter Miami looked the better team, but there wasn't much in the game. I will give you that.
No, I think the game was going exactly how Charlotte wanted, actually. Like, their whole thing is, we want to be incredibly sound defensively. We want to be incredibly tight in the midfield and make it very difficult for you to get the ball into dangerous situations in the final third. And they were doing that well. I agree. I didn't think their transitions were incredible. Like, I do think they probably overplayed it to Zaha, and they're still going to have to figure out how to work together as a team. Pep Biel had a couple nice balls, but I didn't think he was getting into particularly dangerous situations. But neither was Inter Miami. Like,
yeah,
I again thought Segovia was really tired. He is, I think, the guy we're expecting when Messi's out, at least over the last couple games, and we saw it against Houston, to be the engine of the offense, to find those pockets of space, and then to provide the real quality in the final third. I think he's exhausted, man. And so just like against Cavalier, he kind of could find those spaces, but he wasn't able to get there consistently because, he just looked tired, man. All the sort of little things that show a player's got some fatigue. So I thought that was a big part of this. I know Allende and Suarez are sort of the goal scorers, but it's hard when you're not going to get the ball in dangerous situations to put the ball
Yeah,
back in
we
the net.
didn't
And it
have
didn't
any
feel like we were doing
clear-cut
that.
opportunities. And you're right, Segovia didn't necessarily have that impact that we would want him to in that number 10 position. But on the contrary, I thought Allende looked really sharp. He looked very sharp on the ball. He had some really good pirouettes a few times. Passing was really on point, got it out to Alba a couple of times, and I think was combining really well with Kramaski on the other side as well. He was drifting a lot across the front line, which I really enjoyed. But overall, I agree with you. The cutting edge was missing towards the final third for Inter Miami. And then disaster happened with Ustari. So how about we talk about that now?
38th minute, Pep Biel with a nice ball over the top, gets Zaha out in transition. And Ustari comes to sweep it. We've praised Ustari a lot for his ability to sweep. If he gets there a millisecond earlier, he kind of kicks it away. And we're thinking another great moment from Ustari. But instead, he's, half a step late. I do think, I will just say, I thought Wilfried Zaha put his foot out and kind of forced the contact. I don't think Ustari sort of leaned in. But that gets called. And we can argue about it. I mean, you can have a different opinion, but I don't have a problem with it being called a red. If that happened to Messi, I would have been called a red.
So. I wouldn't argue with this. I think it's harsh for sure, but he gave him an opportunity to pull out the red, basically, right? I think Zaha made the most of it. He made the most of that opportunity, saw that contact, went to ground immediately, had a couple of rolls as well, and made the most of that contact. It's fine. I feel like any other player would have done the same. And I thought Ustari has been fantastic so far with his sweeping, but this was one where he misjudged it slightly and put himself in a position to get sent off. So I don't want to dwell too much on this because I feel like dwelling on this will only raise my blood pressure. So I feel like it's okay. It's understandable. The referee made that decision. Slightly harsh, but we were down to 10 men by that time. So
and it was gonna make it difficult for Inter Miami in this game because listen, the most creative player on Inter Miami's roster is Lionel Messi. Maybe available, but I don't know. I didn't get the sense that he was available. The second most creative player on this roster, Ian Frey, not in the starting, not in the 11th. So it was going to be difficult. And Segovia, being exhausted. So ultimately, it didn't feel like Inter Miami had a ton of goal-scoring opportunities. Benjamin Kramaski comes off, so you take an attacker off in order to get Rocco Rios Novo on as the keeper. And I think it actually helped Inter Miami to keep a clean sheet because Charlotte's not built to break down a low block. So for Inter Miami to get that goal early on in the second half, it made the game, but again, I don't think Charlotte's really designed to break down a low block. So
no, I think the second half can be summed up quite quickly. We don't need to analyze it in too much detail. The worst case scenario became the best case scenario for Inter Miami because we ended up nullifying exactly what Charlotte was trying to do, which is catch us on the counter by now sitting back in a low block and actually inviting the pressure. You now put the onus and the initiative on Charlotte to create those opportunities. And as we saw yesterday evening, they didn't necessarily have that in their locker. Their offensive capabilities are based on catching teams in transition when there's open space. And as soon as Inter Miami sat down in a solid block, they were unable to break us down. They didn't have that final cutting edge ball to break down the low block. Pep Biel, who we thought might bring a bit of difference to this squad, and to this offense, didn't have that cutting edge service that he would have liked to have. Zaha, often at times, I think, got completely locked down because 3 Inter Miami players were on him as soon as he got the ball. Inter Miami did a lot better once they went down to 10 men, which makes me wonder whether Javier Mascherano actually practiced this in training over the preseason, where he's like, okay, let's see how we play when we're down to 10 men, because it looked like we were a really well-drilled team and caught them on the break once. And after that, it was lights out for Charlotte. They weren't able to find that clear-cut opportunity throughout the game.
Yeah, listen, they started Leal Bada on the right side, and he's absolutely a transition player, very pacey. but again, completely taken out of this game because of how this game settled in the second half. And so they didn't really know what to do. It felt like they went to Zaha over and over and over. And they said, this is the guy who's going to get us a result. And, he's been there for a week and a half. And even though Patrick Agyemang feels like he should be a big part of a set piece offense or, break
I
down a
thought
low
he was
block
the most
offense,
poor player on the pitch.
he certainly looks out of it. I think he's looked more impressive the last couple of times we played him. Not particularly impressive in this game. So,
and also, you
just
mentioned something in your breakdown where you said more of the same from Charlotte, which is exactly what we got. The Charlotte of last season was more reflective in yesterday's performance. And I think it's understandable. They've only played 3 games and they're still settling into this newfound offensive rhythm that they've created for themselves. And it just felt like their game plan was to revert to what they were doing last season. I think we're going to see a lot of that throughout the season from Charlotte, but just with a little bit more cutting edge as they build their chemistry and as their offense grows together. Yesterday, we were very lucky that they didn't necessarily have the pieces fall into place for them offensively, and Inter Miami was able to deal with whatever Charlotte had to offer, which for me played out really well for us.
Yeah, by the way, Charlotte just signed a left back today.
They saw that and they thought, no, we need more players.
Yeah, Souleymane Doumbia from Standard Liège was with PSG, sort of came through the PSG academy. He just joined. That just got announced today. I think they need to find ways to be more creative offensively, but like you said, they built a very well-established style of play that was very good. They didn't want to scrap it, and so in order to add elements to it, I think it's going to take a couple months, really.
I think the next time we play them, it might be a different sort of a play style that we encounter.
Especially in Charlotte. Yeah, especially in Charlotte. Any other moments from this game? I mean, I think Inter Miami was very disciplined. Like the back, I thought Noah Allen was incredible. He covered for Jordi Alba like a ton, but I'm assuming we're going to talk about him later. Yannick Bright, we'll talk about him later for sure.
Ian Frey as well. I think he brought that bite and that spark that we needed that was lacking while Lujan was on that side. Even though I thought Lujan had a really good game and he created that opportunity with the pre-assist into Allende, I think we needed that X factor from Ian Frey to just show up and show off against Wilfried Zaha, who was having according to you, a really good game. Ian Frey, I thought, was really good, and I don't have much to say, man. I thought every single player knew exactly where they needed to be. And it honestly, I'll just put it this way. It felt like this team had been in this situation before. Didn't deter them. It didn't panic them. They were like, you know what?
They were like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, yes. They're like, you know what? We're going to take care of this. We've been in this situation before. Everyone, just do your thing, do your responsibilities, and we'll get out of this with all 3 points, which to me is a really good sign of maturity. And I think it was the younger players who took charge. You mentioned Noah Allen, Ian Frey, Yannick Bright, really hunkered down and got us that result. I thought Benjamin Kramaski, before he got taken off, looked really good. There were instances that I could see things happening from him. Again, don't want to talk about individual players too much. As a team overall, I think we looked like a really well-drilled unit and knew exactly what to do, which is a reflection of our defensive stalwart of a coach, I guess.
Yeah, for those that watched the MLS recap show last night, there was like a 3-minute segment when they were talking about this game where they were just praising how good Ian Frey and Noah Allen and Yannick Bright were. And I was thinking, man, they definitely watch our show.
Oh, absolutely.
We didn't mention it. You mentioned Ian Frey, but we didn't mention how that happened. Toto Alvarez gets a yellow card in the first half in the 30th minute. And once you're down to 9 men, that's pretty dangerous because he's probably the most likely player to get a second yellow. I actually thought at the time when they made the sub, I thought make a double sub, take Aviles and the goal and replace the goalkeeper in the same substitution window. He didn't, and not that I thought that was an obvious move, but I thought it was definitely there to be made if he wanted to. And so the fact that he went and made that change at halftime, I thought was a good decision by Javier Mascherano. Ian Frey comes in at right back, and Gonzalo Lujan, who had started at right back, moves to center back. And it worked really well because Gonzalo Lujan was not – he actually did get beat by Wilfried Zaha a couple times. And the one play that resulted in the yellow card on Toto Aviles, happened because Gonzalo Lujan kind of got pushed high and pulled out of
Yep.
position, and then the ball got bypassed him, and Totavio was one-on-one with Zaha down our right side. And so Ian Frey, who I think has proven over the last couple of weeks is a better one-on-one defender, I thought that was the right decision, not just to get Aviles off, but to also have Ian Frey be the guy to replace him. So again, just excellent decisions. I thought the substitutions came at a timely moment. David Ruiz, Federico Redondo, David Martinez, even later in the game, all really, really good defensive subs to lock down a 1-0 game in a game where you really weren't going to score a second goal.
Yeah, and it's really heartening to see how quickly Ian Frey has A, come back from his injury, and B, embedded himself as a crucial member of the squad, because I think Javier Mascherano recognizes exactly what Ian Frey brings to this squad, which sometimes almost felt like Tata Martino let go because he needed to play with Chelo Wigan. Really heartening to see how well Ian Frey has been doing. One thing I've really liked, and I mentioned this to you, was Javier Mascherano could have easily turned to Messi when he saw we went down to 10 men and could have been like, you know what? Let's just put him on the pitch. He's going to get us that goal. We're going to win now. He didn't take that chance. Now, whether that was because Messi wasn't actually ready to play, I don't know, perhaps. But as a young coach, new coach, incoming, facing pressure, I think this is the second time we've gone down to 10 men in 5 games. And Javier Mascherano must be holding his head thinking, what is happening? How does this team always end up creating its own trouble? And I feel like both times he's really handled himself well. He's made decisions that are good for the team and have got us the result. And that's really commendable. He could have easily brought on Messi and be like, I'm going to turn to my biggest weapon, throw the nuke on Charlotte and see what happens. Now, he trusted the rest of his squad to get a job done. I don't know what it would have been like if we hadn't scored that one goal. Perhaps he would have brought Messi on, but I think it was really good to see the way he treated his substitutions, the way he wasn't afraid to make that Aviles change quickly, put in Ian Frey in a position that you knew Ian Frey would do a better job. Overall, I thought really well-managed game. And largely the result was on him more than the players as well.
I'm just going to say something and then I'll move on. I don't think Messi was available last night or yesterday afternoon. I think that was just for show, and I feel bad for Ryan Saylor for not being able to get on the bench because of it. But let's assume he was available because that's the public sentiment. I think it's incredibly awesome that he didn't go to Messi, because when was the last time a coach had the opportunity to play Messi and didn't because he said, I have a better strategic plan? That is awesome. If that's the case, and not that Messi's not incredible, but like, even the best player in the world isn't the right tool for he's the right tool for most situations, but not every single situation. And so if Javier Mascherano is brave enough to do that to Messi, I think that speaks really well of Javier Mascherano having like the bravery to stick to his convictions. So that was good. Again, I don't really think Messi was available.
Yeah.
But,
no, I agree with you.
That would be cool.
And I think the yardstick with which we judged Tata Martino was how well he does without Messi. And I feel like this is a yardstick that we need to use for Javier Mascherano as well. And albeit it's only been 3 games, I think we've done well enough, right? I think we've done quite well. Some really good performances, some really gritty performances, one really poor performance in which we still got the result. So overall, a lot to be proud of. And again, Javier Mascherano continues to prove us wrong, right? I don't know what the word would be. We never were Javier Mascherano detractors by any means, but he's been pleasantly surprising, except his rotation policy.
No, but again, maybe it's just us like looking for something to complain about because everything is going so well.
Good place to be. It's a really good place to be.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to get to awards?
Yeah, I think so. This game was fairly simple in terms of how it played out. So I don't think we have too much to talk about, but I think once we get into the awards and talk about individual players, it's going to shine a lot more.
Let's give me 1 30-second monologue on Charlotte. I think there are players there, and like the guys they were bringing off the bench, like Kerwin Vargas and Taklamati, like and Eric Williamson. Like, I think they have some depth too. So I think that's a good team. I still
Absolutely.
think even after a performance where they weren't really able to break down Inter Miami, like I think that had more to do with Inter Miami being of a high quality and a little bit to do with Charlotte not really being ready for that particular test. I do think they're going to be much better the next time we see them. I do think that there's a chance this is like the biggest game of the calendar when we see them again. And that game is,
I think the worst thing teams can do is compare themselves to Inter Miami, because Inter Miami is a bit of a outlier in this case. This Charlotte team beat Atlanta 2-0, and Atlanta is being touted as one of the favorites for the MLS Cup with how they've constructed the squad. So yes, Atlanta may also be at the start of their season, but so is Charlotte. And as you said, there's players here. I think they're going to build more chemistry as the season progresses. And for me, they're still favorites to finish in the top 3. We're going to see them again, and perhaps the game is not going to be the same because we're going to be away from home, and they might have better chemistry with their forwards. But I think they got dealt a difficult card because their game plan got skewed after Inter Miami went down to 10 men.
Yeah, that return leg, by the way, September 13th, that is going to be a fun one, I think. We will see. Okay. On this show, we give out 6 awards for each and every game. We start with an Inter Miami Man of the Match, a heron that flew north, and then 2 individual awards each. Saur, since you went first last time, it is my chance to go first this time. For this Inter Miami Charlotte game, I'm giving the Man of the Match to Yannick Bright because, wow, I think we purposely didn't talk about him during the breakdown because we were going to save an award for him. But I think he was involved in basically every moment of this game. It felt like it, at least. You mentioned it. He tracked every runner out of the midfield. He's winning the balls. He's winning balls. He had a few high up the field early in the game before we went down to 10 men. And then after, he's a beast in the box, something that I've mentioned a couple of times, but it isn't always obvious on watching. He's a very good in the air. And that's huge on set pieces. Charlotte had 13 set pieces, and he was tasked with guarding Patrick Ajimon, their big target man, one-on-one in every single one of those 13 corners. And he bullied him. I mean, he bullied the Charlotte team. That's what he did. He bullied the Charlotte team.
Are we ready to go on a 30-minute monologue about Yannick Bright?
Yes.
So, with the risk of being a little bit overreactionary, if this was the Justice League, Yannick Bright would be Superman, Batman, the Flash, the Arrow, the Green Lantern, all packaged into one. If this was Marvel Comics, Yannick Bright would have been Captain America, Iron Man, all packaged into one. Heck, the Hulk as well. Jesus, this guy is good, man. He is good. And he is improving. We keep saying this, but I'm going to put a full stop on this sentence. He is better than he was last year, this time. He was better now. He is better now than he was 6 months ago. He is improving facets of his game that you may not see on the first watch, but the more you watch the game from Yannick Bright's lens, the more you see how important he is. We keep telling ourselves that he's going to be really good against transition teams. He's really good at locking down when the opposition runs at us, when we need to close down gaps. Forget that. He's good, period. He needs to be in this midfield, full stop. I think I at least have had this assumption that Yannick Bright, his ideal fit in this squad is when we need to stop offensive transitions from the opposition. I think I've changed my mind completely. His ideal position is as a starting number 6. He has to be there every single game, regardless of the opposition. Whether we're facing low blocks, whether we're facing teams that catch us in transition, whether we're facing teams that like to play high possession football, he's a player of all occasions. He can play every single role. He had a switch ball into Jordi Alba, which was beautiful to watch. He had a nutmeg that made a run into the final third. I don't know who he nutmegged, but that was just phenomenal, silky. He had a couple of instances where he went in for a tackle. Everyone realized that, oh, this is the space that we need to close down. And then a press came from Allende on one side, Kremaski on the other side, and we were able to win the ball back immediately. His passing has improved. his IQ has improved because he started to realize where he needs to put the ball. He knows exactly when to go back, knows exactly when to go forward. I can keep going on unless you stop me, but all I'm going to say is Yannick Bright needs to start every single game. He's phenomenal. And I don't know how we got this player, but enjoy him while we can because he's not going to be here long. Simple as that. Also, he locked down a player who's what? 6 feet 5 inches. He's so tall. Arjuman's a bloody giant. And Yannick Bright, standing next to him, looked tiny on those corners. And the first time I saw him, I was like, what is going on? We need a taller player like Aviles on Arjuman to be able to stop him. And Yannick Bright's 6'1", but he looked small in front of Arjuman. And he just didn't let him have a sniff. Wilfred Zaha, every single time the ball went into him, Yannick Bright either went up to him or was covering the space that Zaha would put the ball in. I can keep going, man. I don't want to stop, but I'll let you have the flow for a little bit. I need to get a drink of water. Whew.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, he bullied him. I mean, he went up against Ajimang and he bullied him. And Ajimang looks like he's about 6'7", 220 pounds. And Yannick Bright just bullied him.
By the way, I just saw his long ball accuracy. He had 6 attempted long balls and 4 of them were on target. I don't think he's definitely improved in that sense. Yeah. And he had 11 ground duels, 1 out of 16.
Dax McCarty, who played as a midfielder with Atlanta last season and is now retired and is a pundit with the MLS crew on Apple TV. He was talking about how Yannick Bright got injured and it fundamentally changed that series with Atlanta last season. And if that hadn't have happened, Inter Miami probably wins that series. Again, in 3 halves with Yannick Bright, we gave up 1 goal, and with 3 halves after Yannick Bright, we gave up 5. And I agree with you, he's even better. Here's what I will say: he's the best holding midfielder in the MLS right now. I just mentioned a couple minutes ago how the league is sort of coming around to how impressive Yannick Bright and Ian Frey and Noah Allen are, but I feel like we've always been a step ahead on some of these guys, and especially Yannick Bright. I think he's the best holding midfielder in the MLS. I think he's going to move to Italy or Spain or something next January. I hope we can keep him throughout the whole season. I think every game we have him is going to be like a pleasure, just like how we felt about Diego Gomez in the second half of last year. It was like, we know he's on to bigger and better things, but we're just really happy we get to watch him be a Heron for now. Like, I think we're going to start getting into that territory with Yannick Bright because he's the best holding midfielder in the MLS.
Yeah. And it's a little bit unfair that he's treated as the super draft pick who has a lot of potential, because I think he's performing beyond those expectations. And
no, way beyond.
The yardstick needs to change for him, because I feel like the yardstick is that he's performing beyond expectations as a super draft pick. He's performing beyond expectations as a regular starter in this team. I think even when he plays in the starting 11, he is one of the better performers on this team. In a team that has Messi, Busquets, Alba, I think he did a better job yesterday than Busquets. And again, it wasn't a game for Busquets. It wasn't the kind of game that you need Busquets for, but he was everywhere. You've already said it. He did things that you were thinking to yourself, how is he in this place right now? When 2 seconds ago, I saw him on right back closing down Wilfred Zaha. His heat map, just everywhere. So promising, man. So good.
And it's the kind of thing where, like, you know, rewind a couple years, Dixon Arroyo would make a tackle or sort of force someone to go wide and kind of break up a transition or whatever. And you'd be like, yeah, that was a nice play from Dixon Arroyo. And Yannick Bright does it every single time. Like, every single time. It's crazy.
And it's effortless. It's really effortless.
It feels like it. I mean, he got a cramp at the end of the last game. Like, he's working hard, but it felt like he feels like it's so easy for him. Like, he just has to go do it. It's not like he has to. You said everything. I don't know what else to say. He's the best.
His game IQ, man. That's the most underrated aspect of his game.
He's the
his IQ.
best holding midfielder in the MLS.
Absolutely.
And I get people will ask about Busquets, but that's not really what Busquets does anymore. He's a deep line playmaker, which I do consider to be sort of a different role. Yannick Bright, best holding midfielder in the MLS. And I Okay, he's the man of the match. We've already talked about him for 10 minutes. I don't know what else to say.
Absolutely.
He's incredible. Saur, I give you the tough job, but I will say this Heron that flew north feels easier than last week. And you complained last week about how it's so hard. So I just want you to appreciate now that it's easy to give out the Heron that flew north. For anyone that doesn't know, our Heron that flew north is the award given to the player who was doing the wrong thing. Florida Herons, they don't fly north for the winter. So if you catch one flying north, you catch them doing the wrong thing. And that is the essence of this award. Saur, who gets the Heron that flew north for this game?
Yeah, if it wasn't easy, you would have already heard me complaining. So it's all right. I think it's fairly obvious. Has to go to Ustari, not by his own, well, because of his fault. He tried to be that sweeper keeper today. We've seen him do it really well this entire season. He's done really well. And yesterday he had a bit of an off moment, late to the tackle. I thought he was literally a fraction late, and Wilfried Zaha made the most of that contact, got brought down right outside the box. If it was in the box, that would have been a completely different story, because then they would have a penalty and we would lose a goalkeeper. So double jeopardy there. So glad it was outside the box.
You don't get the red card if you're in the box, but whatever. Because you get the
regardless, we didn't concede the goal, thankfully. So no damage done. We got the result, but I thought Ustari should have done better there. And I think it's fairly obvious who should get the Heron that flew north award. He literally flew north towards the dugout and was like,
he did the wrong thing, right?
I'll take the early shower. So harsh, but understandable.
Not harsh. I think he would shake your hand and say, you know what, that's fair. I thought it was a real veteran moment from Wilfried Zaha to like see that Ustari was so far out and that he could probably earn the call here if he did the little leg kick. And it felt like a veteran move from Zaha, and it felt kind of not like a veteran move from Ustari. That happens. Like, I'm not going to punish Ustari long term or beyond this game, but his punishment is he has to carry the Heron that flew north for the next couple of days.
Yeah. In this scenario, would you prefer that Ustari pulls out of the tackle, lets Zaha through, and Zaha scores, and we survive with 11 men on the pitch? Or were you happy with this outcome? I mean, obviously we won the game, so you should be happy with the outcome, but would you prefer if he did that? And I know it's hypothetical, but
if we're in the first 80 minutes of a game, I'd always want to not get the red card.
Yeah.
Because
we have enough
if we kept it
to
11 on 11, exactly. Especially if Messi's off the bench and stuff. So, yeah. Okay. Anything else on Ustari? Are you ready to move on?
No, I think it's going to be tough against Atlanta because we don't know whether Drake Calendar is ready to start a game or not. I bet my money on him starting the next game in the MLS because it just feels like he's going to get brought back into the fold. Rocco Rios Novo, we can use this opportunity to talk about him because I don't have an award for him. Okay, maybe not. Let's move on to the next award.
Okay, 2 individual awards each, and I will start. And I'm going to go with the small town. No, I'm going to save that one. I'm going to go with the Welcome to the Penitentiary Award.
Welcome to the Penitentiary Award. Something tells me you've used this award before, so you're not being creative enough. Yeah, you've 100% used this award before. Somebody needs to go check the logs, and
I had to double check I was spelling penitentiary right, so I think I haven't, but whatever.
Okay, fair enough. It means somebody who locked down somebody else. I think you're going to give this to Noah Allen. The Welcome to the Penitentiary Award goes to Noah Allen because he had an absolute lockdown of a defensive performance to the point that he was the warden of the penitentiary, had the keys in his pocket, and did not let anybody out to play.
Yeah, the penitentiary, the prison, the jail. Welcome to the penitentiary. It actually goes to Ian Frey because he came
logic.
And he locked down Wilfried Zaha. I mean, people were making jokes about it, how he's gonna get home last night and pull Wilfried Zaha out of his pocket, but he did. He locked him down. Like, he's a lockdown defender. I can't believe last season Cello Wigan started over this guy consistently. It's insane to me. It was insane last year, but he's even better this year.
No, it wasn't even the fact that he locked down Zaha. It was the fact that he came on the pitch and was like, you know what? This is my yard. You are not getting a single inch of grass on here while I'm on the pitch. he showed attitude, he showed arrogance, and I loved that from him. He went in
is
hard on a couple of tackles where I would have been pissed if I was Zaha as well. And Zaha tried to give it to him. And Ian Frey was taking no BS from Zaha. He gave it back to him. On TV, you could see what he was saying to him. So I love that attitude. That's exactly what you need to deal with superstars. Sometimes you just have to pretend you're better than them, and you might be able to lock them down, like Ian Frey did.
Is this the face that you're talking about? Is this the moment that you were talking about?
Yeah.
No,
there was one where he was like, "Don't talk, man. Don't talk. Sit down. Keep sitting on the floor." Yeah.
Ian Frey, I think, earned being on the thumbnail for this video. Because yeah, dude, he's just like, I love talking about Yannick Bright and Ian Frey, but they did it again, man. They came in, they helped Inter Miami win a game, and this time it was their defense, right?
And these are the kind of games for them. These are the kind of games.
No, every type of game is
every type of games. That's what we've established.
They're complete players, man. They really are.
You said this time for their defense. I think Ian Frey's defense needs to be acknowledged. There were instances last season where people said Chelo Wigan's better defensively, Ian Frey's better offensively. No way. Ian Frey's had 3 really good defensive performances against tough wingers. Eric Tomey, the guy against Houston, I think Aliyu.
Aliyu's not that good, but sure.
Still, Ian Frey did a good job on him. And then Zaha, where I thought Ian Frey showed the levels compared to him and Lujan. When Lujan was on the pitch, you could see Lujan was struggling a little bit to the point that he needed his right centre back to come out and help. Ian Frey was just all over Zaha. If we'd played the full 90 minutes, I feel like Zaha would have been a lot more frustrated than he already was. Well done to the team for allowing Frey to play the way he did, because there were instances where he was supported by Yannick Bright. He was supported by his winger as well. And it looked really good. Allende, I thought, supported Frey well when he was on that side of the pitch. But overall, fantastic performance from Frey. Welcome to the penitentiary. Indeed. Well-deserved award.
Yeah. And I like that they got him a rest, too. Like, I know we've been talking about rotation a lot, but they give Ian Frey a rest and still bring him off the bench to use him to win games. Like, just because a guy gets a day off doesn't mean he can't help you win that game. And that's exactly what happened. And that can happen with every player on this roster. And they will be fresher and better for it. Not to rehash, but okay. So give me your first award.
I'm going to go with the Library Card Award.
The Library Card Award.
Think a little creatively, because it's got a meaning to it.
The Library Card Award goes to the Library Card Award goes to Tadeo Allende, because he's just going to the library, checking in a goal, coming back the next game, checking out another goal, coming back the next game, checking out another goal, because he's got a library card, baby. All these things are free. Let's go. Tadeo Allende.
Absolutely wrong. That's the worst logic you could have applied. The Library Card Award goes to Toto Aviles, because he's always in the referee's books. And that's why he keeps getting checked into the referee's books, and he needs to be issued a library card, because damn, he's racking up those late fees, man. He is not doing well. Even when he is doing well, he goes and does something stupid that gets him in the referee's books and tarnishes what was otherwise a really good performance. I think you mentioned it yesterday in the pre-game reaction or post-game reaction. I thought he was doing so well until he got that. I mean, even after he got that yellow card, he was doing fine. But you can understand why Javier Mascherano would be like, I need to take him off, because if we get another red card, we're going to be in a big trouble. Well, I thought he was doing really well. Bench, but... Yeah. Not when you have Leo Afonso, who can score against 9 men. While having 9 men on his team. Aviles did well. I thought him and Noah Allen together looked really good, which is, again, a feature of this defense. Those two together have looked really good whenever they're out together. The problem is it's limited, because Aviles always gets himself in trouble. It's going to hurt him in the long run, man. It really is. I feel like it's starting to hurt him a little bit. And even when he has desire to go abroad, scouts are going to look at this, and this is going to come into his scouting report. Discipline is a big issue, and There are 4 other people competing for that spot with him. And they're all worthy enough to say, listen, we are better defenders. We don't get as booked as he does. And he needs to pull up his socks, dude. He needs to improve his discipline. So the library card award, Toto Aviles.
Toto Aviles is 21 years old. He turns 22 later this season in August. This is something he can't be doing when he's 24. It's sort of understandable at 21, but his problem is now that he is, as you mentioned, facing 4 other guys that all feel like they're in that same bundle. I will say I came out of this game with a pecking order of the 5. And I don't know if you want to get into that, but Toto Aviles is 3rd, and that means he doesn't start in the biggest games. And it's solely because of the yellow cards, or solely because of his tendency to get booked, and that potentially costing this team in big games. And not because of his talent, because he plays well. Like minute to minute, he's getting better and better every single, month after month, he's improved on a minute to minute basis. But like that's the difference. But that's going to be the difference that keeps him on the bench in big games and Maxi Falcone in the starting lineup. It is.
Absolutely.
So, good award. Again, I thought he played well, but it's like the headline is he got a yellow card. So,
and even as fans, it can be a little frustrating because every time he goes in for a tackle, my hand's on my head and I'm like, please don't get a yellow, because it's frustrating, because the more you accumulate yellows, the more games you miss, and it's just it's not fun. And especially when he's having such a good performance in defense, it just tarnishes the nature of his performance. So I did want to talk about him a little bit. All right, what's your next award?
I'm giving the Tzatziki Sauce Award.
The Tzatziki Sauce Award. It's Greek. Do we have a Greek player on this team?
We do now.
Baltazar Rodriguez is Greek? I don't know who's Greek.
Noah Allen just switched his allegiance to Greece.
Oh, there you go. I had a better award. Actually, no, that's a good award. That's a good award. I'll let you take it.
Talasco Segovia has a little bit of hot sauce to his game, and Noah Allen has a little bit of tzatziki sauce to his game. He brings the sauce, man. He's so good. I mean, we say it every single week, but I think he's the starting left center back. I really do. Like, going back to that center back conversation, I think it's Noah Allen and Maxi Falcone in my pecking order, because he locks down. Again, I mentioned it a lot, but in that second half, or I guess after the red card and the substitutions, Allende goes from the left side to the right side, and Jordi Alba just becomes the left back and the left winger all in one. And that means that Noah Allen had to consistently cover for him, but at the same time be responsible for helping with Ajimang, helping with runners out of the midfield. And I know Yannick Bright helps with that, but to be that disciplined in your positioning over the course of the second half, when you had to be in that sort of when we had 10 men, right? And then to also be able to know exactly when to come out in order to protect Jordi Alba, who also I thought was tired, and especially in the second half looked like he was struggling a little bit to get back consistently. I mean, phenomenal performance. He did, and someone mentioned in the chat, he did keep Zaha on side on the red card. So like, it wasn't perfect, but again, for a young kid, that has been awesome. I thought it was another awesome performance.
For someone who's not very short myself, I think Noah Allen is really holding the flag high for all our short kings out there.
Who's not very
Who
tall.
cares if he's 5'10"? He's locking down a player who's 6'7" or whatever, a giant, basically. Yeah. Regardless, height doesn't matter, man. He just goes on and puts on a show. I will say, you mentioned Yannick Bright being one of the best holding midfielders in the league right now. I think Noah Allen's operating on the assumption that he's one of the best defenders in the league right now. He's putting in flawless performances day in, day out in a league that loves to have veteran defenders and need that MLS experience. Noah Allen is somebody who doesn't have that much experience, but is playing with somebody who's played 1,000 games in his career. He is so good. Every single game, you can just see how mature he is and how well he plays. His positioning, his ability to cover ground, his ability to play with whichever center-back partner, I think is a very underrated skill. He doesn't need a specific sort of a center-back next to him to make sure they cover up for his flaws, because he doesn't have that many flaws in his game right now. and he's playing with a lot of confidence. That's exactly what I would expect someone like Rafa Varane to come in and do, right? Just play like a Rolls Royce, not put a foot wrong. And it feels like Noah Allen's growth over the last year has allowed us to not go for another defensive signing because he's just been fantastic. He's basically like a new signing.
Yeah, I said this over the last couple episodes, but the fact that Inter Miami has gotten to this place where they are just clearly the best team in the league on a talent player-by-player basis, and they have really good MLS players that are on the bench, right? Like Redondo, it feels like he's becoming an afterthought. Cello Wiegand, I think, is a solid MLS player. Robert Taylor and Fafa Pico, like all of these guys that just don't actually belong in the starting lineup, but are certified good MLS players. Noah Allen has taken the step up to join the elite above MLS caliber player, which is incredible. So good for him. Again, I think he's the starting left-sided center back on this team in big games, and we have a big game coming up on Thursday. So I think he's going to be in the starting lineup. I think he should be in the starting lineup.
Absolutely.
Okay, Saur, what is your final award for this episode? Although I do have an unofficial award afterward.
I've got a couple that I can give out, but you know what? I'm going to go for the Tick Tick Boom Award.
The Tick Tick Boom Award clearly goes to Tadeo Allende because there's a tick tick boom in every single game, man. All he does is score. He's our leading goal scorer. He scores every game, and he's got impressive goals. He's got goals that are well positioned. He's got goals that have technical ability attached to them. He's got bangers where he just fires it from deep and just hits the right spot. He's got so many different ways to score, and he's incredible. And he's the reason that this team is one of the reasons this team is undefeated in 2025.
You could have said that this award goes to Tadeo Allende because he's dynamite, right?
Yeah.
But this award doesn't go to Tadeo Allende. It does apply to him, that's for sure. The other option that I had was Tadeo Allende. I did want to give him an award, and we can talk about him in a little bit. But this award goes to Benjamin Kramaski. The Tick Tick Boom Award. Or it should be like the Tick 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 Boom in parentheses waiting. He's getting there,
I was thinking about it all wrong. I'll be honest. I was thinking like tick, tick, like a clock, like it was like clockwork. And then boom is like when something happens. But the dynamite reference is better.
But I feel so you actually have the right logic because it's ticking and it's getting to the boom stage where I feel like he's going to explode like a dynamite. Benjamin Kramaski is one good performance away from actually proving to me exactly why he's starting so regularly. He was sharp. He was really good in that first half. And people who say Benjamin Kramaski has the touch of a trampoline or whatever, he was playing really well. He created the one opportunity that we had in front of goal in the first 25 minutes. He was getting into good positions. He was recovering well. He had some really good tackles in the middle that won us the ball back. And overall, I just feel like he's so close to having that perfect performance where we're going to praise him just the way we've praised Yannick Bright, Ian Frey. And I feel like it's just stopping a little bit for him because he gets taken off when we go down to 10 men, or he has to be replaced for another reason. But he's really that close to a perfect performance. And I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I do think he's doing these small things that really make you appreciate the kind of player that is. He just needs to do it on a more consistent basis and for a longer period.
He just needs a goal or two, right? Like, that's what it is. He needs a defining moment.
Yeah.
Like, you're right. People do talk about his touch a lot, and it is the weakness in his game, but it's better this year. It is. And like people haven't given him credit for that. Clearly he knows that it's the big one, but it's the big weakness. But he has been better this season. And by the way, I'm not the only person saying that. I've seen a scout that watches this pool of players say he has had better moments on the ball, and the touch does look a little bit better than it did last season. So that's improving. That's incredible.
And sharpness as well. He just looks sharper.
If he gets a little bit of goal scoring into his game, and he's probably good for like 3 to 5 goals a year, maybe, if he plays every single game. But if he can turn that into 3 to 5 goals without playing every single game, that's like, again, it's just the next step. And for him to be a winger, you want some goals in his game. So we'll see. how it develops. But I agree with you. I think he's been unfairly treated in terms of how impressive he's been this year. I think he's had some nice moments. And I think, especially considering he's playing out of position, I thought he's shown a little bit of growth as a winger already. And we're not even
And he
seeing
has
his
the
natural
qualities
position,
of a winger. You know what surprised me the most is his 1-2 that he does. He had that again this game with, I think it was Yannick Bright, where he just passed the ball off and then ran into a good
But that's always
space
been a
and
part
got,
of his game.
yeah, but like these things make me realize that he has multiple dimensions to his game and he can actually fit really well as a winger as well. He's not the similar kind of winger as Allende, but he has that quality to take players on and do that 1-2 passing that can get him into a good space. I think he'll come good this season. We just need a little bit more patience with him.
Yeah, I agree, and I think he's earned it. Like I think people are seeing him next to Yannick do what Yannick Bright did, or do what Tadeo Allende or Telasco Segovia have done over the last couple games, and they're like, oh, that's not as impressive. But by the standard of this league, he's actually very.
He'll be a superstar player on another team. They would be salivating for him.
Just like Houston fans are salivating about Jack McGlynn.
Yeah, exactly. And that we're not going to let go of that analogy for the rest of the year, by the way.
Okay. Now, as we let go of that analogy, are there any other players you want to talk about? Because I have one.
Okay, let's hear your first, and then
Rocco Rios Novo gets his first start for Inter Miami. I'm sorry, first appearance for Inter Miami. And he made no mistakes. And I didn't think he was going to get 1 minute all season. So congratulations to him. I believe our over-under in our pre-season preview for him was, is he going to get 1 appearance? And he beat that, and we're not even halfway through March yet. So congratulations to him. I am very happy for you. And that's all I have to say about Rocco Rios Novo.
He did make 1 mistake. He came out for a punch and it dropped in a very dangerous position. But other than that, he didn't have much to do either. He didn't have that many saves to make. When the ball came to him, he was clean. He was fine, absolutely fine. His kicking was okay. You can see the level drop from Ustari to Rocco, but it's fine. I mean, his first appearance for us this season, and good for him, man. He didn't look like he was underconfident or under pressure by any means against a team that has some big boys in their offense with Ajamang and Zaha and Lila Bada. So overall, I thought he was fine. Really happy for him. Good for him.
Yeah, really happy for him. And I guess that's all I have to say, actually. Gonzalo Lujan, I thought we saw a right back. I thought it was fine. Like, I wasn't impressed.
Good. He was like Cello Wigan fine, not Ian Frey fine. Yeah.
Well, Ian Frey is more than fine. But let's be. No, I agree with you. I thought he looked like Cello Wigan. He got pulled out of position on 1 play that led to the Toto Avila's yellow card. But I mean, that's nitpicking. He was fine. He moved to center back, helped lock down a game where Charlotte was just pounding balls into the box and trying to create offense.
And he looked better at right center back, honestly.
I agree. Jordi Alba, I didn't think he was great. I think he was tired. He feels like a guy that needs a night off, but I don't think he's going to get one because we don't have another left back when Noah Allen's starting at center back. By the way, I think the next biggest need on this team might be a left back because Noah Allen's just a starter at center back.
He's a center back.
And you need a backup for Jordi Alba.
Yeah.
Telasco Segovia, same thing. I thought he was tired, man. He looked tired to me. He wasn't making those runs to get into good positions. He's got so much quality, and it's just.
And by the way, I want to contextualize this. Even like a average performance for him would be a decent performance for any other player, but he's got so much quality. Like, you can see what he's doing in terms of the spaces that he occupies, but his passing was off. He was a little bit slow getting to the balls and getting the balls into the players. And I think one reason that Inter Miami's final 3rd place suffered was because Segovia was a little bit out of it. And I agree with you, needs a little bit of a rest. And I think once Messi comes back, I don't want to see Segovia on the left. I want him on the bench for at least a game. And I think the international break might do him a little bit of benefit.
I don't, because he's going to go play with Venezuela.
Yeah, but it's not the same intensity. So
I disagree. I think it's going to be worse because I think it's World Cup qualifying.
It's not friendly.
No. But I agree with you. Like, I would like to see him sit the Atlanta game maybe that first game after with Baltasar. I think we play Philadelphia right after the international break. If Baltasar Rodriguez can play that role or Messi's ready to come in, like he needs a game. I think, or he needs a week between games to really recover. David Ruiz, Federico Redondo, David Martinez, I thought were all fine. Luis Suarez gets another assist. Talk about tick, 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 tick. It's like clockwork with him and goal contributions. I mean, he had nothing to do in this game. There was no way he was going to score a goal, and yet he found a way to create a goal.
And I like the fact that he got taken off at the 65th minute because Mascherano realized that this is not a game for him. And he did really well with that assist.
Yeah, I agree. I just blew through Ruiz, Redondo, and Martinez, but did you want to say anything about them?
Nothing particular. I thought they looked fine. They did a good job once they came on as well. Didn't necessarily. This is the thing that I really like. When some of these players come on, it doesn't disrupt the quality of the 11, which used to be the case last season, but now it just feels like we seamlessly transition into having our subs on, which just goes to show how much quality there is in this team.
Yeah. Just a couple questions on the chat. Interesting conversations. Wookie says, any news on calendar, and is Ustari suspended for the Atlanta game? Ustari is suspended for the Atlanta game. I don't expect him to challenge that red card. I mean, I think there's no way that's going to get overturned. So who's going to be in goal for Atlanta? I think it's going to be Drake Callender. I think he's going to figure out a way to get into this. And I think if you're Drake Callender and you're 93% healthy, it's one thing to not take a bench role. It's another thing to not take a starting opportunity. So I think he's going to play. I think he's going to make the trip to Jamaica. He'll be the backup on Thursday, and I think he'll be the starter against Atlanta on Sunday before the international break. And then the last one, someone asked, Gamer Class asked, when will the team announce Obando? It feels like it's been ages. He's going to get announced this week. I think he's going to be available for the game against Atlanta next weekend. Be cool if he started. So last topic I wanted to bring up on this episode, and that's this game on Thursday, because it's actually a must-win game.
Good thing we have a 2-0 lead, right?
No, you have to win this game. You can't win the tie. You have to win this game. And I will tell you why, because I believe it was Tony in the chat reminded me of this. Home advantage over the next couple weeks, over the next couple rounds of the CONCACAF Champions Cup is going to be determined by how you did in the previous rounds of this tournament. LAFC lost on the road at Colorado, but if they win against Columbus this week, they will have 3 wins and 1 loss. Inter Miami currently 3 wins and 0 losses, so they need to win this game in Jamaica. And then you move forward into a potential Monterrey matchup. You're talking about needing to, have that. Monterrey hasn't. They won both their games against Forge in the first round, but they drew against Vancouver. So if Inter Miami continues to win every single game, they will have home field advantage throughout. And that is a huge, huge advantage. As we already saw what it looked like, how big of an advantage it would have been if Cavalier was able to get a one goal against us in Miami. It would have made this game much more difficult. So winning this game on Thursday is a must. They can't win the tie. They can't draw 2-2. They have to win this game at Cavalier because it's only going to get tougher, and you want home field advantage for the rest of this tournament. So must-win game on Thursday. I really hope Messi is available to start because, again, I think it'll be cool for Jamaica and everything, but and for Cavalier and everything, but get a 2-0 goal early and don't let off. Don't let off. You have to win the game. They cannot get it. You can't score a goal and then take your foot off the pedal.
Sniff. Yeah.
Right. You can't take your foot off the pedal and end up with a 1-1 draw or 2-2 draw. You have to win this game. So for everyone watching at home and getting ready for that game, this is a must-win game, and I hope they treat it like that. It's not good enough to just win the tie. You have to go there and win. And listen, they've done that every game so far in 2025. So maybe we should feel pretty good about that. But
yeah, it's not going to be easy. The Cavalier team definitely showed something that none of us were predicting. We did talk about how dangerous they can be in the counter, but they pose a lot of issues. And Yanick Bright has to start in the middle of the park. Otherwise, if we don't get our midfield combination right, if we allow them to cut through us like they did in that first leg, this game could actually go down in a much more difficult way than we wanted to. And as you said, you have to win. So put your best lineup out there, put your best foot out there, and show why we are the quality team here, because you want to build momentum going into this tournament.
Absolutely. And also, like, you want to get all the advantages you can get.
Absolutely.
I've said that Inter Miami is going to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but you don't want to have to go to Monterrey with a 1-1 draw in South Florida. Like, get the 1-1 draw in Monterrey and then come back to South Florida to win the tie. Same thing if they have to play in the final, which again is only one leg. So this is a huge game, especially considering the competition, right? If you draw against an LAFC or whatever, that's more understandable. But if you have this opportunity, right? Inter Miami is playing one of the most favorable matchups in this round of the tournament. You got to win this game. So for a team with the ambition to win this whole tournament, this is a must-win game. Saur, anything else about this game, about Baltasar, about Obando, about Thursday that you want to talk about before we sign off for tonight?
No, I think it's been a good episode, a good chat. Always a pleasure when Inter Miami wins, and hopefully we can continue to win because this is a great team. And it's got Yannick Bright.
Yeah, I do want to say, I want to thank you, and I want to thank everyone that watches and listens and gets involved in the chat, because I'm personally having so much fun with this season. Like, I know we're railing about the rotation and all that stuff, but we're winning, and doing the research to get involved in terms of preparing for the pregame shows and rewatching the games. Like, they're all fun. And it's all fun. And then getting on and talking with you and interacting with you guys in the chat, it's all fun. So I really appreciate you guys being here. So I appreciate you. I know that you have a lot of things on your plate. So the fact that you always make time for this, it makes it very special. And I really do appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Guys, we will see you for the pregame show on Thursday, live on YouTube, 1 hour before kickoff. But until then, enjoy your week. Enjoy this Inter Miami team. And hopefully we've got a couple new players ready and in Inter Miami kits by the time we next suit up. Guys, see you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this, and have a wonderful day.